Shalom Akim. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Hashem Abraham, double honors to the apostles and the elder bishops at Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the elect. Just want to go into a quick lesson, which is in response to this article that I came across, which is entitled Russian-Iranian arms smuggling route said cut off by Israel's Caspian Sea strikes. Which this is from the Times of Israel. Okay, so it's a publication that, coming straight from the state of Israel. Other reports, it doesn't really include Russia in the title, okay, or in any aspect of, the story, really. They're just saying that they hit Iranian sites. But this is straight from the state of Israel, and they're acknowledging that, yeah, this affects Russia as well, okay? Which, according to the scriptures, the least of the flock shall draw them out. Okay, so Israel is going to eventually end up having the United States go to war with Russia. Okay, and that's eventually what's going to, come up, this whole skirmish that's taking place. And once them Russians jump in, it's over. Okay, so we're going to read a little bit of the article, and then we're going to hit some precepts. Okay, I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's pretty lengthy. Just going to touch on a few points. All right, which, by the way, this article came out March 25th, 2026. So it says, recent Israeli airstrikes off the Iranian coast of the Caspian Sea targeted a key shipping route used by Iran and Russia for the exporting and importing of weapons, including those used by Moscow in its war on Ukraine. The Wall Street Journal reported Wednesday, citing people familiar with the matter. So this is just a provocation to Russia, okay? Which eventually, yes, the Russians are going to step in on behalf of the Iranians, okay? And the United States is going to find themselves face to face with the bear, okay? Which is prophesied that Russia would be the main nation that's going to basically lead to the destruction of Babylon. It says, according to the report, one of the key aims of the port strikes was to limit Russia's weapon smuggling abilities. Although Israel has not publicly acknowledged this, likely due to its desire to maintain cordial ties with Moscow. Okay, but the time is going to come to where the ties between the state of Israel and Moscow, they're going to fade away. Okay, Russia's going to be declared enemy of the state. Okay, Russia's going to be declared the enemy of the state, not only to the state of Israel, but also to Babylon the Great, America. Okay, because all this is going to lead up to the complete and utter destruction of America. It says the Israeli Air Force last Wednesday carried out a wave of airstrikes against Iranian naval vessels at the port city of Bandar Anzali on the coast of the Caspian Sea. According to the IDF, the strikes destroyed an Iranian Navy corvette, 4 missile boats, and several auxiliary ships and guard boats, along with a command center and a shipyard, which this is utilized by Russia as well. Okay, they also use this port. So basically, they attacked Russia. Okay. It is said at the time that it targeted the missile boats to cause a blow to the Iranian military, despite the fact that they did not pose a direct threat to Israel from the Caspian Sea. According to the Wall Street Journal, though, the sting of the strikes was likely not felt just by Iran, but by Russia too, which has its own port on the Caspian Sea, some 600 miles from Iran's. Russia and Iran have long enjoyed close ties, and in January 2025, they signed a strategic partnership agreement to further improve cooperation, including military and defense partnerships. The two countries, both heavily sanctioned by the West, maintain a shipping route on the inland sea, the journal said, using it to transfer weapons from Iran to Russia and food supplies from Russia to Iran. So if this is affected by this strike, you best believe eventually the Russians are going to step in. Okay? And then not only does this affect trade between Iran and Russia, like the article mentioned earlier, it also affects what's going on in Ukraine. Okay? So it's basically an act of war. The shipping route is believed to be one of the main lines used by Russia and Iran to evade sanctions according to experts cited by the journal. The sanctioned Islamic Republic of Iran shipping lines regularly operates out of Bandar Anzali, it said, not far from where the Iranian Navy is located. Iran has been supplying Russia with drones and other weapons since Moscow launched its invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. In 2023, Tehran transferred more than 300,000 artillery shells and 1 million rounds of ammunition to Moscow via the Caspian Sea, the journal said. Iran also initially provided Russia with the Shahed drones it favors for attacks on Ukrainian infrastructure, but Moscow now produces its own variant, having received assistance from Tehran to build its own manufacturing plant. Russia, in turn, is widely reported to be aiding Iran in various capacities following the outbreak of its war with Israel and the U.S. on February 28th. According to the journal report last week, Moscow is providing satellite imagery and improved drone technology to aid Tehran's targeting of U.S. forces in the region, as well as supplying Iran with parts to modify Shahed drones, providing them with improved communications, navigation, and targeting capabilities. Kiev, which has developed a range of cheap and effective drone interceptors to protect against Russian attacks, has since deployed more than 200 defense specialists to help the Gulf states fend off Iran's relentless drone strikes. Okay, we're going to jump around here. It says Israel has not acknowledged the expected impact of the Caspian Sea strikes, which analysts told the journal was likely a deliberate choice given the careful line Jerusalem treads with Moscow. Yeah, this wasn't an accident. Okay, they planned this thing out. Okay, and really what's driving this is the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Okay, it's the will of the Heavenly Father that the United States gets locked into a war with Russia. Okay, World War III is on the cusp. It says Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Russian President Vladimir Putin maintain regular contact, chiefly on matters pertaining to Iran and Syria, where Russia propped up the regime of former President Bashar al-Assad during the Syrian civil war. Israel under Netanyahu has largely remained neutral when it comes to the war in Ukraine, sending only humanitarian aid to Kiev, not military aid as requested, even as Russia has grown increasingly critical of Israel's military action in the region and moved closer to its enemies. On Monday, the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov spoke to his Iranian counterpart Abbas Araghchi regarding Israel's strike at the Caspian seaport. Mutual concern was expressed about the dangerous spread of the conflict provoked by Washington and Tel Aviv to the Caspian Sea area, Russia's foreign minister said. Lavrov also said that attacks on Iranian's nuclear infrastructure, including Bushehr, posed unacceptable risk to the safety of Russian personnel and fraught with catastrophic environmental consequences. Okay, it says the following day, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov warned that Russia would view any spillover of the Iran conflict into the Caspian Sea extremely negatively. Okay, so basically he's warning, them small has a look. If you want to expand the war to this theater, then hey, we're gonna have a problem with it. We're gonna hop in. Okay, which eventually that's gonna happen. All right. So let's hit a few precepts, and we're gonna close this out. This is the book of Jeremiah 49 and 14. It says, I have heard a rumor from the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and an ambassador is sent unto the heathen, saying, gather ye together and come against her and rise up to the battle. And that's what's happening. You got these nations being stirred up against Babylon. Okay, mainly. And a lot of this is happening through these small hats. Okay, it says, for lo, I will make thee small among the heathen and despised among men. And this campaign that Babylon has going on now is just furthering that position. Okay, you becoming more despised with, this increasing war that you have going on with Iran, which is completely unprovoked. All right, now these nations looking at you even more so like the devil. Okay. It says, thy terribleness hath deceived thee and the pride of thine heart. Okay, and your terribleness is going into your military might. See, when the United States first hopped on board with this war, they thought it was going to be over quick. Okay, but them Iranians, they giving you a hard time. And go set foot in their land. Okay, it's going to get even worse for you. All right, and eventually, according to the scriptures, the Russians are going to step in and then it's over for you. Okay, your military is not on par with the Russian military. It's not on par with the military of Iran. Okay, which is not on par with the military of North Korea, China. Okay, these other nations that you got a problem with. Your soldiers, your troops ain't ready. Okay. It says, thy terribleness hath deceived thee and the pride of thine heart, O thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, that holdest the height of the hill. Though thou shouldest make thy nest as high as the eagle, I will bring thee down from thence, saith the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Also, Edom shall be a desolation. Okay, mainly talking about the land of America. The Most High going to completely destroy this place. Also, Edom shall be a desolation. Everyone that goeth by shall be astonished, and shall hiss at all the plagues thereof. As in the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah, and the neighbor cities thereof, saith the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, no man shall abide there, neither shall a son of man dwell in it. And that's going to be the future of Babylon. Okay? And it's no coincidence that it said it's going to be destroyed in the same way Sodom and Gomorrah was, because the same things that were going on in Sodom and Gomorrah are going on over here in Babylon. They're also going on over there in the land of Israel. Okay? So Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai going to rain that nuclear fire down on them, just as he did those cities. Okay, it says, behold, he shall come up like a lion from the swelling of Jordan against the habitation of the strong, but I will suddenly make him run away from her. And who is a chosen man that I may appoint over her? For who is like me, and who will appoint me the time? And who is that shepherd that will stand before me? Therefore, hear the counsel of the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai that he hath taken against Edom, and his purposes that he hath proposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. The least of the flock is talking about these small hats. Okay, so they are going to be responsible for getting America caught up in, this major war that's going to take place mainly between the United States and Russia. Okay, but also their allies, North Korea, China, okay, and all these other nations going to hop on board as well, because according to the scriptures, all these nations that have nuclear capabilities, they're going to shoot it on Babylon. Okay, but the main cause of this World War III, okay, and America being destroyed is going to be the actions that these small hats are taking, and America backing them up. Okay, it says, surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. So the Most High is going to destroy Israel, and he's going to destroy Babylon the Great. Okay, and these are the times that we're in. This is the book of Revelation 20, and we'll start at 7. It says, and when the 1,000 years are expired, which the 1,000 years was roughly a period from 325 AD up until around 1453 AD, when Constantinople fell, okay, which, pretty much marked the end of the rulership of these so-called Negroes up there in Europe, okay, the end of the so-called Dark Ages. It says that when 1,000 years are expired, Satan, which is Esau Edom, shall be loosed out of his prison. He was released from captivity under the nation of Israel, particularly the southern kingdom. Okay, it says, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth. And how did he do that? Mainly with his, iconoclasm. Okay, taking that image of Cesare Borgia throughout the four corners of the earth with him. Okay, portraying himself to be the son of the Heavenly Father, the spokesperson of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Okay, it says, it shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, which Gog is talking about Russia. Okay, so Russia is going to play a key role in this World War III. All right, and the key role that they play is the main nation that's going to come up against Babylon. All right, just like we read in the ancient prophecies, who took down the Babylonian Empire was the Medes. Okay, so the Most High is running it back. All right, the only difference is the Medes, okay, they're the Russians today, and Babylon is talking about America. It says, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. This is going into Armageddon, okay, or the Valley of Jehoshaphat. All right, where Yahweh Shem Yahushua is gathering all these nations in one spot over there in the Middle East, and he going to destroy all the armies of you other nations. Okay. It says, and they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints about. Let's talk about the land of Israel. Okay, and the beloved city, and fire came down from the Most High out of heaven and devoured them. Okay, so what's going to happen to these people? They're going to be burned up. All right, and that's what this is all leading to. Okay, this whole war is going to culminate in the complete and utter annihilation of mainly Babylon the Great, but also the land of Israel. Okay, and Russia plays a key part in this. All right, this is the book of Isaiah 13 and 17. It says, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them. The Medes are talking about the Russians. Okay, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. So once the Russians step in, it's over. Okay, and on many occasions, Putin has said that if we get in a conflict with the United States, it's going to escalate quickly into a nuclear conflict. Okay, they ain't trying to have a long, drawn-out war like what happened in World War II. Okay, where millions of Russians die. Okay, they gonna get it done and over with quick. All right, shoot the missiles. Okay, because you can't sit down and negotiate with Babylon anyway. They'll say they talking to you, they trying to set up an attack. Okay, so just get rid of them. And the Most High gonna put the spirit in them to do these things. It says, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, going into their nuclear weaponry. All right, their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. So they ain't gonna care that there's babies here, okay, or that there are pregnant women in this country. They gonna press the button. All right, their eyes shall not spare children. And Babylon, America, the glory of kingdoms, the top kingdom on earth, okay, the country with the highest GDP in history, right? The beauty of the Chaldees' excellency shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, which again is going into the thermonuclear fire that Yahweh Shem Yahushua is going to rain down on this place. Just like what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, those cities have been completely erased. All right, there's nothing left. America's going to be the same way. It says it shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation, neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there, but wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there, and the wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant palaces. And her time is near to come, her days shall not be prolonged. Yeah, the Most High ain't gonna prolong your time. You already on borrowed time as it is. Okay, but what you see are the prophecies being sped up. Okay, why? Because Yahweh Shem Yahushua is getting ready to make a speedy riddance of this place, man. Okay, you fulfilled your role down here on the earth as being the wicked. All right, now you got the nation of Israel waking up. Now Yahweh Shem Yahushua pretty much has no more use for you devils outside of fulfilling the rest of the prophecies he has concerning you. Okay, which is you being destroyed. All right, so wait until these Russians step in, man. Okay, so that's when things really gonna get hot. All right, this is the book of Jeremiah 51 and 11. It says, make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua hath raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, which is talking about the Russians. Okay, for his device is against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua, the vengeance of his temple. And the reason why Yahweh Shem Yahushua is going to cause this whole ordeal to go down is because of mainly what you did to so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, which I just did a video earlier. Okay, you had this resolution come up in the UN. They wanted to acknowledge that the transatlantic slave trade was the gravest human rights forget how it was worded, but it's the greatest human rights atrocity in history. Okay, and Babylon refused to acknowledge that. Okay. So that just shows you where you stand with this place. Okay, the last thing that's in Esau Edom's mind, okay, is giving you justice. All right, so Yahweh Shem Yahushua is going to give us justice. All right, says set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon. That's what we're doing. Okay, the standard is talking about the scriptures. So we condemning this place with the words of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. That's another reason why you see the prophecies being sped up, because we chant this place down through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Okay, it says set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon, make the watch strong, set up the watchmen, prepare the ambushes. And this place is going to get ambushed. Okay, because these people, they have no clue as to what's going on. The leaders have no clue as to what's going on. All right, they don't think anything going to happen to this place, but Yahweh Shem Yahushua is going to touch you. All right. It says, prepare the ambushes, for the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua have both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. Okay, which is what? Yahweh Shem Yahushua raining thermonuclear fire upon this place. Okay, which is going to happen. All right. So we're going to jump down to verse 24. It says, and I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea, okay, talking about America, all their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, saith the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua, which destroys all the earth, and I will stretch out my hand upon thee and roll thee down from the rocks, and will make thee a burnt mountain. How's Yahweh Shem Yahushua going to burn this place? With those thermonuclear missiles. Okay, and they shall not take a stone for a corner, nor a stone for foundations, but thou shalt be desolate forever, saith the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Meaning what? There ain't going to be no rubble left. Okay? Because you know you got disasters that happen here in Babylon today. The building might get knocked down, and then to commemorate, you know, the building that was there before, they would have a little piece of the building inside the new building. You know, they might encase it in glass so you can look at it. They ain't going to be able to do that here. Okay, because everything is going to be vaporized. All right, nothing is going to be left of this kingdom after Yahweh Shem Yahushua gets done with it. Okay, you ain't going to know that it was a kingdom here if you didn't know the history of this place. Okay, somebody brand new born in the kingdom, okay, and they just so happen to pass by Babylon after the smoke clears, they would just see a desert, just like you see in Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, you can't tell there were cities there. All right. The only thing pointing to the existence of a city being there, or multiple cities being there, is the scriptures. Okay, but other than that, this is another desert. All right. It says, set ye up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her. And that's one thing that we're doing as well when we prophesy. Okay, the Most High is using the prophets to stir up these other nations against Babylon. All right. It says, prepare the nations against her, call together against her the kingdoms of Ararat, which is going into the Turks, okay, the people of Turkey, which they against you too. And they are one of your allies, all right? They're going to turn against you. It says, Mini and Ashkenaz, appoint a captain against her, call the horses to come up as the rough caterpillars. Prepare against her the nations of the kings of the Medes, which again, that's going into the Russians, man, all right? So really the last thing you devils should want to do is to stir up, you know, them Russians, man. Okay, but it's going to happen anyway because it's biblical prophecy. All right. And this devil going to do it as well because he's proud. So he hears the warning, okay, the condemnation coming from the prophets. Okay, but in his mind, it ain't going to go that way. All right. It says, prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes, the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. And the land shall tremble in sorrow, for every purpose of the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua shall be performed against Babylon, to make the land of Babylon a desolation without inhabitant. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. Okay, so they're going to send troops out. Okay, but they're not going to want to fight. Well, you already see that happening now. They don't want to be involved in a conflict with Iran. Okay, and they definitely not going to want to fight a war with Russia. It says the mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holds. Their might hath failed. Their might hath failed. They became as women. They have burned her dwelling places. Her bars are broken. One post shall run to meet another, and one messenger to meet another, to show the king of Babylon that his city is taken at one end, and that the passages are stopped, and the reeds they have burned with fire, and the men of war are affrighted. For thus saith the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai of hosts, the power of Israel, the daughter of Babylon is like a threshing floor. It is time to thresh her. Yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come. Okay, what's the time of her harvest is when this place is going to be completely destroyed. Okay, and we just that much closer to this taking place. Okay, because now you got these small hats trying to provoke the Medes. All right. So I just want to go into that. Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai willing. It was edifying. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Hashem Yahweh Shai, Hashem Aruch HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elder bishops at Great Millstone. Shalom.